Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's February 4th, 2020, and recently I've had some questions about a video that I posted about when I mentioned that I had pre-ordered a Cybertruck, a Tesla Cybertruck. And I'm pretty excited about that. And one of the things I mentioned was, geez, yes, I am invested in Tesla stock. And full disclosure, I am fully invested in Tesla stock. There are a couple other companies at small amounts that I'm in so far, but the bulk of my investments are in Tesla stock. And because the stock has really increased in value recently, some folks have reached out to me to ask more about my investment strategies. And so that's really what this video is about today. So first thing I should start off with is just say how badly I've done throughout my life with my financial investments. So my financial investments started off, I worked 12 and a half years at a major manufacturing facility that made beer cans. And it was a really good company to work for, absolutely excellent. Made lots of money working there, much more than the people in the surrounding communities around here. And I worked there 12 and a half years, and I really socked away a lot in the 401k. Unfortunately, Mike Wallace, or a 60 Minutes episode, showed up and investigative reporting, and the union reps had basically screwed up with our funds. And so I ended up getting just $3,000 out of that. That was my first strike, first failure within my financial investments. I really just let everybody else take care of those investments, the union take care of it. The next mistake I made, I took that $3,000 and said, well, I got the word of a vineyard, a new wine company starting down south, and I went ahead and invested that $3,000 in that and immediately lost that as well. So that's the second strike, and I should have done some research. The third strike is after becoming a doctor, board certified internal medicine, started paying down student loans, paying off mortgage, paying off lots of credit card debt, automobile debt, all of those things, and equipment debt, and which was really a tremendous amount, sort of like the Dave Ramsey thing, really doing all we can to pay down debt, and investing in a 401k. And this time I really researched, tried to find a good financial advisor, someone who could manage the funds. I found someone who's really nice, really good. Because I was concerned about my health, I was obese at the time. I had high blood pressure, I was wearing bifocals, I had digestive problems. I had quite a few problems back then. And I ended up getting a life insurance annuity as well, and which really takes a lot of those investment funds and utilizes them. 2008, 2009 came along, a recession. The funds really decreased a lot. I still continued because I wanted to get the continue investing, and knew the market would return. The fund manager invested things to the best of his ability, but at that time, lots of things. He made lots of trades, and those trades cost you quite a bit as well. So I didn't have nearly as much as I had hoped to have after those years of investing as well. And then I retired. Took the money from my 401k and rolled that over into a Roth and an IRA, and the money just sat there. And the reason that the money just sat there, and my wife still works, and Thea works, and she has a 401k where she works, and those funds are managed by BlackRock, which there's very limited ability that you have with an investment firm. I think BlackRock is the largest investment fund managing system for most states, municipalities, pension plans, companies, you name it, private individuals. So BlackRock is really big. But because of their packages, I decided to put that all into savings instead of actually having it in funds because of our ethics. So What are our ethics? Well, the ethics are really just four ethics: self-care, earth care, people care, and future care. When there's a decompression in an airplane, the oxygen mask falls down, and you're advised to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, because otherwise you're going to pass out and not be able to help anyone else, especially if they're panicking and stressing. So self-care is really, really, really important in an emergency situation or in a health crisis. It's so that you're able to take care of other people. And earth care, we really want to do all we can for taking care of our planet, because this is our home. People care, we want to take care of other people. We don't want the effects of whatever we're doing to affect our neighbors, our nearby states, countries, whatever. And certainly, like the Native Americans invest, they want to leave the planet better for future generations as well. So that's future care. With respect to investments, that's so important as well, because I think the most important thing you can do with all of our investments and all of our forms of wealth is to take 100% responsibility for doing it. And I didn't my first three times. My first three times, I trusted other people to look after my earnings that were invested in a tax-deferred account, and manage those to try and make those grow, accrue interest and profits. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out for me. It wasn't terrible at the end, but it didn't work out as well. And so most people would say you need to have a very diversified fund. I don't have a diversified fund. My financial investments are very few investments, and Tesla is the major company that I'm invested in. And if people are interested in other investments that I'm looking at, and some small amounts thus far, I'd be happy to do it. But they're basically disruptive technologies like CRISPR, companies that deal with genetics, so for curing people, dealing with diseases and famines, those sorts of things, controlling disease outbreaks as well. Certainly other things that I'm very interested in is, right now there's increased automation of just about everything, like the smart home technologies and all. And there's several others as well, and I won't go into those, but Tesla really covers several bases for me as a disruptive technology that meets all of my criteria for a financial investment. So one of the things I ended up doing, it took me a couple of years after I found out about Tesla to really do the research. I'm sorry, I got cat hairs all over my face right now. Doing the research and really looking up who is the CEO, Elon Musk, who's his chief financial officer, who is his head of operations at Tesla, who's running the solar business, who's running the battery technology systems, who are the engineers that he's hiring for these different areas as well. And so a lot of research, not just pulling and looking at the quarterly reports. It's really going after, we all know that Elon Musk is a genius, and that he's a serial entrepreneur. The Boring Company, SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, X.com, PayPal. All of these different business adventures. He's obviously a very hardworking, self-disciplined, and follows through and gets lots and lots of amazing things accomplished. So the guy's a genius. I also think he's a smart genius, which sounds a little weird when you say it, but being smart is realizing that he's not an island by himself. He really has to select the very, very best. So when the NASA space program was slowing down, he recruited their best engineers. Recently in Shanghai, he's recruiting their best engineers and designers to help with designing a car there. In Germany, the next gigafactory that he just acquired the property and that they're doing the work there. Elon is going to selecting a group of engineers there to design another vehicle there. So he selected the very best chip designer to build a computer processing system that's somewhat comparable to the NVIDIA, and I do own shares in NVIDIA, and they make the graphics processing unit that's in your home computers. It's the unit that's used for Bitcoin, for mining Bitcoin. It's used in many different applications where autonomy, artificial intelligence, where there's lots and lots of processing needed. And what Elon did was he said, geez, this is a multi-centric chip design that NVIDIA made, because it has to meet the needs of many different corporations, different needs and all. Where Elon decided, I need autonomous driving. I need something that's dedicated to this. I need something that's got redundancy built into this system for safety and for efficiency. And so he hired the very best people and invested time, energy, money, and recruited people to build the fastest chip processing system that's in the new Teslas at this point. He decided to go with what everybody thought was nuts, the lithium-ion batteries that are not pouch batteries, that are the cylindrical cells that we see. He designed a modular system for it and a pack system for it, and really designed this amazing battery technology. And the drivetrain in these Teslas is just over the top. The electric motors, no electric motors are nearly as good as the Tesla motors in his vehicles. The cooling and heating system that takes care of the battery, the cabin, the motors is a tremendous synergy, working with multiple systems unlike any other automotive manufacturing system. The charging network that's going up all around the world, there's nothing that's comparable to it. He recruits the people that are very brilliant and leaders in their fields, and unchains them and said, make something amazing. And the culture in his company is one that I find is just perfect. The teams don't separate into their own departments and say, oh, we need to do better than the drivetrain. Our battery department has to be better than our drivetrain, or our painting department has to be better than that. They all work together. One of Elon's leaked emails, in-house emails, mentioned about the culture that needs to be in place there, and that was that managers are there to serve the workers. So I've worked in places where you have this whole hierarchy where you need to talk to your supervisor, and your supervisor talks to your manager. Your manager may go to human relations, or may go to the superintendent, whatever it may be. And there's none of that. It's whoever's got an idea on how to improve things, go immediately to the department head of that area, or go to the engineer. Managers are there to facilitate the needs, to make sure that everything's done efficiently and effectively for the corporation. The other thing is, Elon's one of those people who is completely invested in the corporation. His personal money is completely involved in the stock, and it's going to be there for years down the road. And he's created what I'm going to call 5-year plans, but they're goal-oriented objectives. And he's got to meet each one of these goals before he gets any compensation. By law, I guess he has to make minimum wage, but he doesn't. That isn't something that he's accepting. He doesn't accept a salary. What Elon does is he gets more stock options after accomplishing all these goals, which meets everyone. Elon takes into account does things that are amazing in another way, is that he isn't just working for the shareholder. And so many corporations just care about the shareholders and the people in the environment, or the environment themselves, or the workers. They work off the back of the workers at the expense of the workers. Well, Elon Musk, his workers have a chance of, I think they can take like 10% of their salary and invest it in the stock. What better incentive? It's brilliant. Certainly with the stakeholders, we're all stakeholders. Even if you never buy a Tesla vehicle or buy any of the shares of the stock, what he's doing is he's changing and he's forcing the development, making all the other automotive manufacturers switch to electric vehicles, battery-operated electric vehicles. It's what's going to be here in the future. He's forcing people to do it because people are not buying the Fords, the GM vehicles. All other manufacturer numbers are down as a result of, Tesla releasing these vehicles. The younger people, the old white farts like me, not like me, but my age group and my appearance. It's common that, well, we think everything's the good old way, want everything like the old days. Well, that's not going to cut it. It's not good for the environment. Elon realizes that climate change is a real issue. So, he's looking at the stakeholders, the shareholders, the workers, and the corporation, the environment, and future generations. Elon, there's been tweets about him planting so many trees. I can't remember how many trees he planted. He went in Germany. There's a forest that's managed, in other words, planted every so many years and then harvested. And there's some endangered species bats that are there. He's going to make sure that he does right by relocating those bats and harvesting that, but he's going to plant, I think, 1 trillion trees, or 3 times as many trees that are in that forest there in response. In Flint, Michigan, people whose water lines were still contaminated, not Tesla, but Elon went ahead and brought in a whole bunch of water filter systems for those people. So he's altruistic, he's a man of his word, he's hardworking, he's a genius, he's smart in the fact that he recruits so many brilliant people to work with him. And I mean, his chief financial officer has done an amazing job 2018, 2019. His head of operations for the automotive operations really going to Shanghai and getting the Gigafactory 3 up and running. The factory is just amazing compared to what's here in the States, and done in such quick time, and producing vehicles. He's really streamlined things. He's one of those guys who approaches his own life always looking at the most basic components and assuming that that there's something that he hasn't thought of, or that he's doing wrong that he could be doing better. So he's always trying to improve. He's always willing to listen to other people. He listens to the shareholders, all of us who tweet back to him or let him know, geez, we'd like to see this feature. Everything that I invest in has to be a disruptive technology. And why? Because I really want my financial wealth to be able to support me and support this place long after I'm gone. And there isn't that much money to start with. So what do I have to do? I have to be smart enough to do the research and investigate what are these disruptive technologies that are going to change the world, that are going to take care of all of the ethics, the self-care, earth care, people care, and future care. So now we've got climate change. It's a major issue. We don't have good global relations in recent years. There's been a breakdown, more tariffs, more challenges working with other countries as well. So becoming a multinational corporation is really important for me as well, and Elon's doing that with Tesla. So some of these disruptive technologies that I'm really interested in are certainly like the CRISPR and genetic research that's going on now as well. Certainly blockchain with keeping secure our financial transactions as well. Autonomy, in the future, there aren't going to be internal combustion engines. Well, there will be. I mean, some people still have horses. Hey, I got a cat trying to chew some of the wires here. So our lawnmowers will all be autonomous, not just be electric, but they'll be autonomous. Everything that's on wheels will be autonomous. Excavators, bulldozers, heavy equipment, dump trucks, everything that you can imagine is going to be autonomous in the future, and I'm so excited about that. So artificial intelligence is so important. Technology with chip technology. Certainly 5G is coming around the corner as well. Starlink is another thing going with SpaceX. There's all of these technologies that are so exciting and all, and being aware of those disruptive technologies and finding what companies are going ahead and integrate and create an inclusive network of disruptive technologies that's going to make one company superior to all the rest. That's what I'm looking for, like Tesla is. So I mentioned some of the things that's all inclusive: the best electric motor design, the best drivetrain system, reduction of components, certainly with the skateboard design battery, the electrical grid supercharging network that's there, the battery technology and cooling system. This coming spring, around April, there'll be Battery Investor Day, like there was Autonomous Investor Day last year. Super pumped about these things, and it's the inclusiveness of all these technologies. And Elon's doing over-the-air updates, so it's like getting a new features in your car. And with autonomy, when Tesla's robotaxi takes over, well, that car can go off for you and make money as well. And those people who want to be entrepreneurs, you could have a charging station, a couple of charging stations, send off some Teslas, and hire a couple people that do the detailing and managing of those vehicles when they're coming in to be served. And so people can make a decent living. So you can help other people, even though you're not starting a big company. So there'll be fewer parking garages needed, because then people won't have to be buying vehicles. I think there'll be more people using a robo-taxi network, somewhat like people use Ubers now and Lyft instead of a taxi network. It'd be nothing like going ahead and putting on your smartphone, okay, this is what time I want to leave for work these days. This day is my day off, and looks like I'll be leaving at this time. I'd like to have my groceries picked up at this time. Those sorts of things. Well, you could own one of the Teslas, and that could go out and do those things, and then after it drops you off for work, go and do some other things that you have it scheduled to do, or put it in the robo-taxi network to make money for you as well. So Tesla is one of those companies that I think is really important to deal with. Right now the stocks are shooting up kind of crazy. I think a lot of this has to do with some recent changes and developments. So Thea's 401k, where she works, and she's just got a couple more years that she's working there. I've had all of her funds just in a savings account, losing money as a result of the Fed throwing so much money into, printing money and decreasing the value of the dollar. So it hasn't been making us money. And why? Because those funds at BlackRock were invested. I couldn't separate separate funds so that I could invest in something like Tesla, something that's resilient, something that's sustainable, something that's environmentally conscious and all. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do that. Well, recently, Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock, and BlackRock is the biggest, I believe, in the world, financial institution that invests for states, for municipalities, for pension plans, for workplaces like my wife's workplace. And many people really rely on them in being able to build their retirement through BlackRock. Well, BlackRock just released a statement recently saying they're switching, they're divesting from thermal coal. I think they'll be divesting from gas and oil soon. They'll be investing more in things like autonomous vehicles, battery-operated electric vehicles, those sorts of things that are more sustainable, because the young people today are not going to tolerate all of our bad habits that we've been doing for years. Polluting the world, increasing the carbon in the atmosphere, causing global warming, creating all of these catastrophic things that we're going to be experiencing in the future unless we really get on the ball and do things. So some of these large financial institutions are changing now. Jim Cramer, who has a television show, the reason I know about it is he does have some videos online, and I saw he had made some statements about Tesla, and I do keep my ears open on YouTube for those people making statements about Tesla. And he had always poo-pooed Tesla for years, even though I think he had gone for a ride in a Model X years ago and thought it was a fantastic car, but thought it was a poor investment. Now he's changed his tune. And he's a TV personality who plays a financial advisor. I'm not trying to downplay him, but there's no way you can be an effective financial advisor for so many different corporations and all. And the corporations are going to influence you. It's like being in a doctor's office. You get influenced by the people taking you out to dinner, sending you to Hawaii, all of those things. So Cramer, although I would say that he probably has he listens to many of the big corporations and investment firms out there and saying, you know what, it's time to switch off of oil. It's time to go to more solar. It's time to go into some of these big battery bank systems. And certainly that's another part of what Tesla is now as well. And I won't go into all those other avenues that when you're investing in Tesla, you're investing in these other green, sustainable or resilient systems there. So yeah, Jim Cramer the other day, when he was being interviewed on one of those financial shows, it just basically said, oil's dead. I'm not going to recommend investing in it anymore. And the thing is that the big corporations are now seeing the way that, we need to change our strategies and start divesting from the carbon producing emissions and polluting corporations to make a more sustainable, resilient life. So it's going to take time for this to happen. Some of it's just talk, but I'll be watching them closely and to see where I'm willing to invest my money as well. But that's probably one of the reasons Tesla's stock is rallying right now. Some of the shorts are covering their shorts potentially as well. But I think some of these large funds like BlackRock is saying, you know what? Tesla's proven itself. We see that that they're making these steps. They're using their profits wisely and investing in the future. And there's going to be quite a long run up. I won't go over where I think Tesla will go ultimately, but it's going to go a hell of a lot farther than what we've seen today. So I think I've exhausted myself here talking about these things. There's lots of good YouTube channels out there about investing and lots on Tesla. The one thing I would say is do your own research. Really know your ethics. And the first one is self-care. And the most important thing about self-care is do the research on each company that you think about. Don't be listening to anybody, including me, on YouTube saying, wow, Tesla's awesome, it's amazing, because people can get into this whole buying frenzy and without really looking at what is this corporation actually doing. Is it a house of cards, or is it really built on a good foundation, and do they have people there building that structure well? So I hope you found this video of value. Please give us a thumbs up if you think it was of value. Share it with your friends. Feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this. And by all means, folks, have a great day. Bye-bye now.